Welcome to Spoken English Academy. This is your go-to podcast for mastering spoken English by listening to real-life conversations on everyday topics. Today, we're diving into a subject that touches all of our lives: the pros and cons of social media. Whether you're a fan of scrolling through your feed or a bit wary of its impact, this discussion will help you think about social media from different angles. So grab your headphones, sit back, and join us as we explore this topic in detail. Remember, listening is one of the best ways to improve your English fluency, so let's get started.
You know, William, it's hard to imagine life before social media now, isn't it? I mean, look at how it has transformed our lives. We're more connected, more informed, and have endless opportunities to explore different things. Social media is just amazing.
Well, Sarah, I know you're always singing the praises of social media, but you can't ignore the other side of the coin. Sure, it connects us, but at what cost? Sometimes I wonder if it's doing more harm than good.
Harm? Come on, William. Social media is a game changer. Just think about how easily we can stay in touch with family and friends, no matter where they are in the world. I mean, remember when you went on your trip to Europe? You could share every moment with us through Instagram. We experienced your travels in real time.
Oh, I won't deny that. It's true that social media makes it incredibly easy to share experiences and stay in touch. But don't you think we've become a bit too dependent on it? Sometimes I wonder if we're losing the depth in our relationships because of this constant online presence. It feels like people are more focused on capturing the moment for social media than actually living it.
I can see where you're coming from, but isn't that just about balance? It's not like social media forces us to disconnect from real life. We can still enjoy the moment while sharing it with others. Besides, social media allows us to stay connected with people we wouldn't otherwise be able to. I've reconnected with old friends, found new communities, and even networked for work through LinkedIn. It's like a bridge between worlds.
That's true, and I agree that platforms like LinkedIn have created opportunities that didn't exist before. It's easier to network, job hunt, and stay in the loop with professional contacts. But sometimes it feels like this connection is more superficial than genuine. Just because you're connected with someone online doesn't mean you're maintaining a real relationship with them. And then there's the problem of quantity over quality. Do we really need 500 friends on Facebook? Most of them are just acquaintances.
Fair point, but I think it depends on how you use it. Some people genuinely engage with their networks, whether it's catching up with old friends or interacting with colleagues on a deeper level. And let's not forget the communities that are formed online. Think about people who live in rural areas or places where they might not have access to like-minded individuals. Social media gives them a chance to connect with people who share their interests, hobbies, or challenges. That's a huge merit in my eyes.
Yes, online communities can be great, especially for people who might feel isolated. But then you have to consider the toxic environments that social media can create too. Have you seen the amount of cyberbullying that goes on? Trolls, harassment, and even cancel culture. Sometimes it feels like these platforms bring out the worst in people. It's easy to hide behind a screen and throw insults or criticize others. The anonymity of social media can really bring out aggressive behavior that wouldn't happen face to face.
I won't argue with you there. Cyberbullying is a real issue, and it's something that definitely needs more attention. But I believe that the positive aspects of social media far outweigh the negatives. Look at how many movements and causes have gained momentum because of these platforms. Think about the Me Too movement or climate change activism. Social media has given people a voice, especially those who might not have been heard otherwise.
Social movements are one of the strongest merits of social media, I'll give you that. The way causes have been amplified globally through platforms like Twitter and Instagram is inspiring. But there's a downside to that too. Along with positive movements, misinformation and fake news spread just as quickly, if not faster. People don't always verify the facts before sharing, and that creates an environment where conspiracy theories and false information thrive. It's hard to know what's real and what's not anymore.
That's a legitimate concern, but don't you think misinformation is something we've always dealt with? Social media just made it more visible. The key is educating people to be critical thinkers and to fact-check before sharing. Plus, platforms are starting to take responsibility by flagging false content or adding fact-check labels. We're still figuring out how to deal with the speed at which information travels online, but I believe we're heading in the right direction.
I hope so. But the damage misinformation can cause is real. We've seen it influence elections, public health issues, and even personal relationships. And what about the impact on mental health? Studies show that excessive social media use, especially among teenagers, is linked to anxiety, depression, and feelings of inadequacy. People are constantly comparing themselves to others, seeing these curated, perfect lives online. It creates this pressure to live up to unrealistic standards.
That's definitely something we need to talk about more. Social media can create a false sense of perfection, and I know that comparison trap is real. But again, isn't that about how you use it? If you follow accounts that promote positivity, mental health, and realness, social media can actually be uplifting. There are so many influencers and creators now who focus on authenticity and being transparent about the ups and downs of life. It's refreshing to see that kind of content.
I agree, and I've come across some great accounts that promote mental health and authenticity. But for every positive influencer, there are hundreds who push the idea of perfection, perfect bodies, perfect homes, perfect vacations. It's hard to escape that, especially for younger users who are still figuring out their identities. Social media has also created this culture of instant gratification. We're all hooked on the dopamine hit that comes with likes, comments, and shares. It's addictive.
Addiction is a valid concern, and I've read the studies on how social media affects brain chemistry. But I think we have to remember that social media is just a tool. How we use it, how often, and what for, is in our hands. Sure, it can be addictive, but it's also a powerful platform for change, for education, for building careers. Take businesses, for example. Small businesses and entrepreneurs can reach global audiences with just a few clicks. That's something we never had before.
That's one of the strongest merits of social media, no doubt. It's given small businesses a platform they couldn't have dreamed of in the past. You no longer need a huge marketing budget to get your product out there. A clever Instagram campaign or a viral tweet can bring success overnight. But the surrey thing that makes social media great for business, its reach and speed, can also work against people. One wrong post, one misstep, and it can ruin someone's reputation in minutes. Cancel culture is brutal, and social media plays a huge role in that.
Cancel culture can be harsh, I agree, and sometimes it's not fair. But I think it's also a reflection of how powerful social media has made individuals. In the past, only those with access to traditional media could influence public opinion. Now, anyone can have a voice, and sometimes that leads to holding people accountable for their actions. It's not perfect, but it's democratized the way we hold people in power responsible.
That's true, and I understand the need for accountability, especially for those in positions of power. But the lack of nuance in social media debates bothers me. Everything is black and white online. There's no room for discussion or understanding. People are quick to judge and slow to forgive, and the algorithms only make it worse, pushing content that creates outrage because that's what keeps people engaged.
Yeah, the algorithms definitely have a role to play in how content spreads. They prioritize engagement, and unfortunately, outrage drives engagement. But we have to remember that social media is still evolving. Platforms are starting to recognize these issues and are making changes, and as users we need to be more mindful of how we engage. It's not just up to the companies, it's up to us too.
I agree that we need to take personal responsibility for how we use social media. But I also think these companies need to be held accountable for how their platforms affect people. The amount of data they collect, the way they use that data to target ads, and the way they keep us hooked, it's all designed to maximize profits at the expense of our privacy and well-being.
Data privacy is definitely a huge issue, and I'm with you on that. Companies like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter need to be more transparent about what they're doing with our data. But at the same time, isn't that the price we pay for using these platforms for free? We're not paying for the product, we are the product.
That's exactly the problem. We're giving up so much of our privacy without even realizing it. Most people don't even read the terms and conditions before signing up for a new platform. And even if they did, the amount of information these companies collect is staggering. It's invasive.
True, and I think we need stronger regulations to protect user privacy, but I also think we're in a time of transition. Social media is still relatively new, and society is still figuring out how to manage its impact. It's not perfect, but I believe that with time, we'll find a way to balance its power with responsibility.
I hope you're right. I see the potential for good in social media, but the negatives are hard to ignore. Between the impact on mental health, the spread of misinformation, privacy concerns, and the way it can create toxic environments, I'm not sure the benefits outweigh the risks.
I get that, but I think we have to look at the bigger picture. Social media has opened up so many opportunities for people. It's connected the world in ways we never thought possible, given people platforms to speak their minds, and helped small businesses thrive. It's not perfect, but what tool is? It's all about how we use it.
I guess you're right in that sense. Like anything else, it's about balance and responsibility. I'm not ready to completely dismiss social media, but I think we all need to be more critical of how we use it and the impact it's having on our lives.
Agreed. It's about finding that balance and making sure we use it in a way that enhances our lives rather than controls them. Social media is here to stay, so we might as well make the best of it, right?
Right. As long as we don't let it take over, I think we can find a way to navigate the pros and cons.
Exactly. It's not perfect, but with awareness and responsibility, I think we can use social media to make a positive impact both for ourselves and the world around us. And that's a wrap on today's topic. Social media definitely has its ups and downs, but with a little awareness and responsibility, we can all try to make it a more positive part of our lives.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining us in this conversation. I hope it's given you something to think about and maybe even discuss with others.
Remember, if you enjoyed this discussion and want to keep improving your English by listening to real-life conversations, be sure to hit the subscribe button on Spoken English Academy. We have more topics like this lined up just for you.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, keep practicing, keep listening, and keep growing your English skills.